a really wonderful guest to share with you, and I want to get right to that. I'm very excited. I want to say that a lot of times people say to me that when they hear me speak or lead a meditation and bring forth the message of spirit, that it's not only the words, but the vibration that they feel, and that they somehow feel healed by the vibration that comes along with the words. That is primarily due to the fact that every time I open up before I speak to you and I say a prayer, I also open to the energy of Reiki. And today I am so honored to have William Lee Rand with us. He is probably one of the most influential people as far as bringing Reiki into the United States, the world, the mainstream, and making it accessible to so many people. Of course, there's a lot of people involved in that, but I do believe that William has played a significant role in that. He is the founder and president of the International Center for Reiki Training. He's authored Reiki, the Healing Touch, the Reiki Touch Kit, Reiki for the New Millennium, and co-authored The Spirit of Reiki. He also has the Reiki class tapes and many other Reiki articles and CDs. Since in 1993 through 95, with the help of some of his students, he developed the Karuna Reiki system of healing, which many of you, I'm sure, have heard of. And he is the founder of the Center for Reiki Research and editor-in-chief of the Reiki News magazine, as well as editor online Reiki newsletter. And I could actually go on, but I want to just bring William right here to speak with you. And welcome, William.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. Yes. Good to be here.
I want to start by just really thanking you. And I really do believe that as we've been preparing to come together, I've really reconnected and really remembered my path to getting here. And even without knowing you, knowing the influence that you've had as you brought a lot of students of Reiki and really helped to bring it in and across the United States with all the work that you've done. So I want to honor you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I enjoy my work.
Good. Can you, I think a lot of the audience, the listeners probably know and have heard about Reiki, but we are going across the world with this, and I'm sure there are some people that haven't actually heard the term before. So can you give us a shorter overview of what Reiki is?
Yeah, Reiki is a Japanese form of stress reduction and relaxation, and it's administered through the hands, so you could call it laying on of hands. And it makes use of something called ki, which is a life energy. And this life energy is everywhere, and it's what actually keeps us alive. And so when your life energy is low, you're going to feel probably weaker, not as healthy, more prone to illness, and so forth. And when it's strong, you're very healthy, and you're filled with confidence and enthusiasm, and so forth. And so Reiki is simply a way of administering this life energy and enhancing it within the people that we work on.
Beautifully said. Now, you did a lot of spiritual searching and awakening even prior to coming into Reiki itself. Can you give us a little history of that and your sort of, because I know that you were sort of like me, searching probably from the point you were born. You said in high school you started really searching for the answers and opening to new experience. Can you give us a little background of what actually led you to first discover the Reiki?
Yeah, actually, I was very interested in metaphysics as soon as I discovered it, found out about it, and it just seemed to me it contained the essence of life and just the reason why we're here. And so I wanted to learn as much as I could. So I took a period of about 15 years and studied many different methods and techniques and with different schools and teachers. And I was a Rosicrucian, a hypnotherapist, an astrologer. I worked with a kahuna for about a year when I lived in Hawaii. The kahuna is the Hawaiian shaman, and I got involved with neurolinguistic programming, past life regression therapy, and a number of other things. And so I really got an understanding of metaphysics in general. And then after that, I discovered Reiki and realized actually it seemed to have even a higher vibration than the other things that I had worked with. And was very happy I had discovered it. And then gradually, eventually I became a teacher and then just got into Reiki full time.
You said that when you first discovered it, one of the things that fascinated you was that the attunement, that this energy or opening is passed down from teacher to student, and you were a bit skeptical about that, but then had a beautiful experience when you had your first attunement. Do you want to talk a minute about that?
Yeah, when I was a Rosicrucian, they said don't believe something simply because someone says it's true, or if it's written in a book, because you never know if it's true or not, and just accepting things isn't a good way to understand about life. And so when I heard the idea that you don't learn Reiki in the usual way that you learn something, but you receive the ability through an attunement, well, on the one hand, I thought, gee, if that's true, it's got to be really powerful. It's got to be really something. But then I thought, but is it really true? And I thought about that, and I just decided, well, the only way I'm going to know is I'm going to have to take the class. So I took the class, and during the attunement, I made my mind very still. I wanted to be an observer, and I didn't want my imagination to make me think something had happened. And so as the teacher got closer, though, I did feel an energy come down through the top of my head, went to the base of my spine, came back up, and kind of exploded out of my heart. And I felt it was like breaking up something, a blockage in my heart. It went to my hands. They got warm. And afterwards, when I practiced and put my hands on people, I could feel energy pulsing through me. And it was like a stream of little particles of light. And the other types of healing I had used before, basically you guide the energy with your mind. So I tried to guide it with my mind, and the energy said, well, we don't need your help. We already know where we're going and what we're going to do. And it just had this higher consciousness that was greater than anything I had ever connected with before. So, yeah, I learned from experience that, yes, it worked. The attunement was real, and the Reiki was very deeply healing.
I love what you said about the, Reiki saying, we know what we're doing. You don't need to help us, because I think that's why I resonate with it so much, is that it's about getting out of the way. And so a lot of the other techniques, it's coming through us, but we're using our mind. And as we put our mind into it and our thoughts of how it should work, I think we do almost reduce that energy at times. And Reiki just does its own thing, and our job is to become that pure and open channel to let it flow through us.
Yes, yeah, I think that's true.
A couple things that I thought of when you were speaking is, I love that you said, that you were skeptical of it, because I say that I'm one of the biggest skeptics, and people find that hard to believe because I'm so surrendered and I do this work, but that is what got me here. And I think everybody should be skeptical in the sense of exploring and trying it for themselves, exactly like you did. So I love to hear that. One of the other thoughts, though, and I want to see your thoughts on this, because I know from experience that the passing down is a beautiful thing, but I think some people might confuse that with giving the power over to the master teacher who invokes that, but that isn't what's happening. Really, we're connecting with the divine, but it's just a process of, like you said, opening up and passing that lineage down. I think in the past, a lot of times, the reason prophets have come in and made a difference, but it hasn't stuck, is because people have attached to the sort of the prophet, the teacher, versus the energy flowing through. Do you have a kind of take on how, because I know it differs, but I'd love to hear how you put words to the way that the attunement isn't about taking on what the master has, but moving and passing it down through.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the important parts of Reiki, is that it's not we're not worshiping a guru or a teacher. There's no central person in Reiki. Of course, there's a founder, and there have been people that have, passed it on, but there's no one that we worship as in terms of feeling that that's the source of the energy, that we're connected directly. So every individual Reiki person, Reiki master, has their own individual connection directly to the source, and so because of that, I think it frees us from possibly being under the influence of another human being, as opposed to just having our own direct connection.
Mm-hmm. And as you said that, I got the vision of really what we're doing is we're just sharing the gift. As one person opens and remembers that open channel to the flow of universal energy, they pass that on to another. And it's that agreement along with the ceremony that allows the connection to occur.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the Reiki master that actually does the attunement. It flows through the master from the source into the student, and often it flows directly. It's even when giving attunements, a person can be sitting there, and the master may be down at another part of the room, and they're still getting energy coming into them, from the source. So it's not something that is the master's energy, the teacher's energy. It's actually just coming directly through the source.
Right, and flowing out, which is why it can be used in long distance. And like I said, that, when I open for anything, when I'm speaking or channeling or whatever I'm doing, I always open with the Reiki as well, because it does just flow. And there isn't that restriction of touch, hands-on touch, but just the connection.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So I was also interested in your story about, I love this theme that goes through with you, because I really am so heart-centered and believing that our next step in the world is to bring the mind and the heart together as one. And I love that when you speak about your attunement, it was an opening of the heart. Then that followed up after you taught many people and really were moving along this path. The heart came back up again for you in a different way to take you to a new level. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, I had a rather unusual experience. I actually had a heart attack. It was on New Year's Eve 2003, and very unexpected, because I had an excellent exercise program. My diet was really good. And as far as I could tell from the tests and so forth, my arteries were clear, and yet I had a heart attack. And I always knew, even from the moment that started, that actually something positive was going to happen from it. So afterwards, after they had cleared it was a blood clot. After they cleared that, they did what's called a heart cath, where they actually put a small little wire up into the heart, and it has a camera, and it has a way for them to actually look inside the arteries. And as I was laying on the table, I actually saw my heart on a screen beating in real time. And it was just a profound experience, because, my heart was still there, taking care of me, beating and supplying life energy, the blood that's coursing through my arteries and veins. And I just had such a feeling of gratitude for the heart that it was doing that for me. And then later on, when you have a heart attack, your heart becomes very, very sensitive. And for a period of time afterwards, I was weak, and I couldn't really do very much, and I had very little energy. And what I got, though, is that the heart spoke to me, and it said that basically the way it stayed alive, the way that it received its life energy, was through gratitude. And it was gratitude that keeps the door open for it to receive life. And it was saying, the heart told me that that's how every cell of the body stays alive, is it's grateful for the life force that comes to it. And also that as we consciously take on this gratitude, then our lives open up as well. So that was a very profound experience, and it's added tremendously to my understanding of life and, wholeness and the heart.
That is so beautiful. I love to hear you say that with your own words, and to realize that. And I've been seeing that, and I'm sure you have too, when I work with cancer, people who are surviving cancer, and all the terminology that goes around cancer, of battling it and fighting it and all of that, when really it's ourselves, and it's the love and the gratitude that we need to embrace each cell in order for them to retain that healing, versus, the battling any cell of our body is going to push it away. So I'm right there with you on that gratitude and the cells receiving it. Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful. Good. Well, we have something else in common. You are you teach in Glastonbury as well, and I want to talk to
Yeah.
you, kind of shifting this over a little bit, because we have a lot of listeners in the UK area and around the world, because you teach Reiki there, and people come from all over. So, can you tell us a little bit? Well, actually, let's start with what drew you to Glastonbury of all of UK, because I ended up there too. So let's talk about
Yeah.
the energy of Glastonbury and how you ended up teaching there.
Well, I taught first in the UK in '94, and then in '95 I taught in Manchester. And some people up there mentioned Glastonbury, and somehow I just was interested in it. And between a couple of the classes, I drove down to Glastonbury, and I was just, really excited about it. It was such a wonderful place, and Glastonbury is just is almost like a mecca for New Age people and for healing and metaphysics and meditation and things like that. It's just a small little village, but it has it's just filled with crystal stores and New Age bookstores and vegetarian restaurants, and people come from all over the world to be there, because surrounding Glastonbury are some of the most interesting and powerful sacred places that I think I've found. Within walking distance, there are at least half a dozen sacred power spots. And there's the Tor, which is a sacred hill. There's a Chalice Well that's beautiful gardens, but there's this spring, they call it the Red Spring, and it's just where people, like even in the 1700s, would go there to be healed. And there's these two sacred oak trees called Gog and Magog. And they're just the power spots within walking distance. And so I just felt that was a magical place. And when I was there in '95, then I looked for places I could teach. And so I got set up in '96. I taught there for the first time.
Great. Have you ever had a chance? I think it's the Red Spring goes into Chalice Well, and then the White Spring, is that the one that's underground when you go in? Have you been into both areas?
Yeah. In
That
fact, you
one
can
is
go
open.
up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can go up Wellhouse Lane, and on one side, on the left side, as you go up, there's the Red Spring that comes out from the Chalice Well. On the right spring, there's the White Spring that comes from underneath the Tor. So they're right there on either side of the road, and they both have healing properties, and so you can drink from both of them, or some people mix them up in their water bottle.
And there's a temple right by the White Spring that's only opened every once in a while. And the last time, so if it's open, if you haven't been in, look for that next time and will it to be open, because it was unbelievable to walk under the earth and into that temple as well. Have you done that yet?
Oh, yeah, I sure
Yeah.
have. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's
and
gorgeous.
different people have, I guess, been working there and had it set up, and sometimes they'll have candles, and there's just water flowing and coursing, and absolutely amazing. And what they say actually is that originally that spring came from a cave that goes underneath the Tor, and you could actually walk back into it. But I understand that they've closed that up, and there's no access to it anymore. But I guess it still bubbles up from that cave. Yeah,
and they said that they used to blend, that the two, one is the male energy and one is the female energy, and they used to come together. And so I would like to see a day when they do come together again, because I think
I imagine that because they're right next to each other. And,
right, exactly.
I imagine they would. And I guess the water from the Chalice Well goes over to the Glastonbury Abbey. And when the Abbey was functioning, that was the source of their water, was the water from the Chalice Well.
Oh, beautiful. Mm-hmm. And speaking of the Abbey, that's where let's get back. I want you to have a few minutes. We actually are we have about 5 more minutes, but I want you to have a few minutes to talk about and tell people how they can participate in your workshops over there, as well as some of the other things you have going on.
Sure. Yeah, I teach 2 classes there. I teach the Master class, and I teach the Karuna Reiki class there as well. But I consider the classes in Glastonbury to be the most powerful and interesting classes that I teach. The class is held in an old manor house, and it's large enough for the whole class to stay there. Everybody has their own room. Meals are prepared, and we have our meals together, and people can have any type of food from raw to vegan and vegetarian or semi-vegetarian. And the grounds around the manor house are just wonderful. And it's the Abbey House, and it's right next to the old ruins of the Glastonbury Abbey, which we have access to. And so it's just the accommodations are wonderful, and then we have the class there. And then on the one day we get a bus, we go to Stonehenge, and we have the main Reiki attunement inside the stones at Stonehenge. And we have special access, so we're the only group inside, and we get to do the attunement in there. So all in all, it's just a very powerful class.
Yeah, that sounds like it. And how would people find you to sign up for that?
Well, they can go to the website reiki.org, that's reiki.org, reiki.org, and then just click on classes, and you'll see the classes there that I'm teaching. You scroll down the page, and you'll see the Glastonbury classes. You just click on them, and you can sign up online, or if you have other questions, you can send an email and get your questions answered.
Excellent. And you have another event coming up in London, too. Do you want to mention
Oh,
that?
yeah, I have a mini workshop. It's a 4-hour workshop. It's in London. It's on June 2nd, and it's 4 hours. I think the cost is £40, and I cover a number of really important things. We go through several advanced Reiki techniques. I do a guided meditation to assist people in connecting with an illumined being that becomes your personal spiritual guide. And, I talk basically about Reiki, answer questions, and so forth.
Wonderful. Great.
Mm-hmm. And that you can link to that on the same website, reiki.org, classes, and that's listed there as the event, and then you can sign up through the website.
Okay. And one more thing I want you to mention today, the membership, that people who are Reiki. Tell me about the membership you are offering.
Yeah. Now, I'd been thinking about this for like over 10 years, and finally it felt like the right time to do it. So last year I set up a Reiki Membership Association. It's for people who already are Reiki masters, and it's for professional recognition. There's a code of ethics. There's standards of practice that people agree to abide by. And there's actually a brochure, a Reiki brochure that you can download. It's a professionally written and created brochure that you can download and print on your home printer. And also there's a way of where you're actually listed, so your practice is listed and so that people can contact you. And because I've been around so long, actually there are we've got it set up so that we're getting about 400 to 500 visits a day to the membership list by people who are looking for practitioners or teachers. And so people are getting referrals from it. And so there's a lot of support there. There's a whole section on articles on how to develop your Reiki practice written by people, myself and others who do have thriving Reiki practices, and it explains what to do and what not to do and how to get your business to work. And also there's the use of our Reiki manuals. And so pretty much we supply everything that you need to start your Reiki practice, and we support you. And the intention is that everyone will do really well.
Wonderful, because everybody in the world needs to experience Reiki. So the more we connect together, the more the world will heal.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much, William, for being
You're
here
welcome.
today.
Yeah.
And I would like to have you back again. How's that sound?
Oh, sure. I'd like to come back. Sure.
All right. And I want to thank all the listeners for being here with us today. Have a wonderful week.